60 seconds to comply.
I think you'd better do what he says, Mr. Kenny.
You have 60 seconds to comply. This is minute 72. Part man.
Part machine. All pod. This minute begins with Robocop fleeing a hail of bullets and ends with Lewis stating her name.
My first note is the fall of Robocop and a saviour? Ooh.
Yes. Yeah, if we are going with the Jesus parallels here, I mean, there are people who help Jesus along the way to his execution, his crucifixion. Side note, I don't know why, as someone who was raised Catholic, I don't know why we repeatedly want to remind Jesus of a really traumatic incident in his life. If he's watching down from heaven, I don't think he's like, yeah, man, thank you for the past 2,000 years. You've just been reminding me of this over and over again.
I still love the gag that if Jesus was executed in an electric chair, that's the pendants Christians would be wearing.
Yeah, or a guillotine.
Just like, Jesus, man. Just, well, okay, and Jesus, man. Like, how tacky is that? Even though, of course, there's no historical proof that the cross was actually a cross, and that's not how people were actually crucified. And yeah,
it's pretty fucking sick, that. Hey, yeah.
I think it was Penn Jillette that stated that the Bible has equal parts truth, history, and pizza.
I think pizza actually originated in China or something. I found out
something weird,
and it's bizarre. It feels so wrong.
Yeah, it's either that or it's American, even though people think it's Italian. It's one of those weird ones. Speaking of pizzas, so Robocop's looking a bit fucked up.
Yeah, so I was saying that Jesus, there are people who help him on the way to his crucifixion, so I guess Lewis is filling in those roles. I am being a very bad Catholic schoolgirl right now by not remembering. I mean, I think...
I'm very much an atheist, so yeah, no. I know from cultural osmosis that, people...
I think Mary Magdalene? Is it Mary? I think it's Mary Magdalene I'm thinking of.
I don't know. I don't know that people... Because there's the Stations of the Cross. I think the Stations...
Yes, which we had to do our liturgical dances for. I wasn't in the dance troupe, but boy, it takes a certain kind of kid to want to do that.
Well, I think that's the Stations is where Jesus fell down and someone picked him up and helped him on his way. Which, I'm sorry... That's a terrible thing to do. It's just like, no, Jesus, you have to be murdered right now and get up, go on, attaboy.
I know, it's they're mythologizing some real dumb bullshit, but you have that distance because it's mythologized, so you kind of go, oh, I guess that makes sense.
Well, then you get to the whole point where God impregnated himself into a woman so that he eventually would be murdered for himself.
Pretty sure that was an episode of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Well, shit. That's exactly what I was hoping to spare you from.
Was it Schisms?
The one where Deanna Troy's impregnated by a space man. Yeah.
Yeah, season 2, episode 1, the child.
Because women in fiction, what are you gonna do with these dames, these broads? You're gonna just make them pregnant, because that's what they do.
The worst version of that is Avengers 200, where Power Girl gets... Sorry, not Power Girl. Fuck.
Miss Marvel, yeah.
Yeah, Miss Marvel gets kidnapped, mind manipulated into falling in love with someone, gets impregnated with that person who comes to Earth, and the Avengers let her leave with them.
Yep. It's like that episode of Star Trek Deep Space Nine where Seven of Nine... No, not Deep Space Nine.
I was going to say, I do not remember that happening.
Sorry, Seven of Nine. So the episode of Star Trek Voyager with Seven of Nine. Look, it had the word 9 in it, and I'm very dumb.
I know.
So... But yeah.
It's been a long week.
It's been a while. But yeah, so she had to apologize to her rapist. So, we've definitely, around the same time as Robocop, we definitely had some pretty bullshit examples of female characters. But, actually, those characters are great. It's just they were treated horribly. However, Lewis, she gets to be a human person. I think the role was originally conceived to be a man, and then they went with a
Yes.
woman, and then they were casting for a woman. I don't think they were ever casting for a man, though.
Well, we've spoken. Oh god, we spoke about this a long time ago. Probably
Yeah.
when Lewis first turned up. Is that how they deliberately desexualized and made her a little bit more androgynous, or what we'd probably call androgynous, with the shorter hair and stuff like that. So it was kind of subversive for that, and things we've already talked about, and almost a year ago now, is I love that in this movie there's no sexual tension or anything between these two characters. They are just great friends. And
I think she's still progressive for modern standards. I mean, if you look at all these superhero movies, not a single butch woman to be seen. Are you kidding me? A super strong, superhuman woman. They all look like little models. Are you serious? Like, okay, I know She-Hulk's coming, and
that's where things are going to be. Ooh, are they going to shell out to actually spend money on a CGI proper Amazonian She-Hulk? Because if they do, I'll be in lust with that series.
yes.
But She-Hulk has always been a really interesting character for that. I was bringing up, like, she's always been a bit snarky, and she's not the femme fatale. She is kind of butch.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
she's down to rumble with the blokes as much as anyone else.
Yeah, so around this time, so She-Hulk would have been in the comics in the 80s. You had Vasquez in Aliens,
was 81?
and you had Lewis in Robocop, and it's actually incredible to me that, we think of ourselves as being more evolved and more progressive, but you don't see butch women like that anymore. I mean, even, Sarah Connor and Ripley, they got longer hair, but they're still very butch or non-gender conforming women. And
Well, it's funny about those two particular characters, because they went from the victim, essentially in the first horror iteration of the franchises, to becoming, the strong, independent female in the second one.
And they're butch mothers. That's a combination you almost never see, especially nowadays. And that's just wild to me. Yeah, we're seeing more queer characters, but we aren't seeing this particular kind of woman. And I don't know what that is.
Well, what we're getting is essentially in Hollywood is an acceptance of various roles, but we're not necessarily coming across the full spectrum. Like, I'm trying to remember where I heard about it just recently, but it is true, like, how sexless the MCU is.
Yeah, I love that. I think that article I sent you, that
You probably sent that.
It's like everyone's sexy but no one's horny or something like that, and you have
Yes!
these perfect bodies, but no one's oozing any kind of sexual magnetism.
Yeah. And it's, pretty much what romance happens in the Marvel movies, and we have love interest, but
It's tokenism, really.
there's no actual romance. Like Richard Donner's Superman. There's the scene where Lois and Superman are flying through metropolis skies. It doesn't do anything for a film. It's just a great character beat moment, and it's romantic as hell.
It's
within the
gorgeous.
context
It's just
of
so cute. Like, that's what stays with you forever.
Exactly. That's like one of my favorite moments. The voiceover bit aside, but that's one of my favorite moments in the entire film.
There's no voiceover in the one I watched.
So there's two. Yeah, there's two versions, and one of them has the voiceover, one of them doesn't. I can't remember which one has it and which one doesn't.
Well, thankfully I didn't have one with narration. It was good that way.
Because I believe they cut it for some releases. I think it might have been the TV release. They cut it down. And I think it might have been... They restored it for, I think, one of the DVD releases. I can't remember. Or at least maybe like a director's cut type of issue. I'll be honest, like... Where's the romance between, say, Tony Stark and Pepper Potts?
Yeah, it's a sort
That
of,
feels like all that shit was done off screen.
Yeah, we need these two characters to like each other, and they get married and have a baby. Yep. Okay, I don't believe it, but okay.
I believe it's in the fact that you just stated factual things that are shown on screen.
There's more chemistry between Tony and Bruce. Honestly,
there's more chemistry between Tony and Tony.
Well, yeah, okay, obviously. No one loves Tony as much as Tony.
Well, he is a narcissist, so...
Yes.
But yeah, no, yeah, definitely. There's more chemistry between Tony and Bruce.
Do you think he makes out with the Iron Man suit when no one's around?
Oh, it wouldn't surprise me if he sleeps with it, but that's beside the point.
You know that meme where it's like, you know, I think the original is just someone brought a dog or a weird animal, a goat or something, to lie in the bed with them. It's like me and such, and then my wife, and the wife's just staring at the ceiling. What the hell's going on?
Anyway, Robocop.
Anyway, yeah, so
Speaking of metal suits.
This scene is mostly just visual, it's choreography, but I mean, it's a very powerful, emotive scene. The music, it's a theme. The Robocop's theme swells, and Robocop is literally brought to his knees for the second time in a span of a few minutes. And they've picked the perfect location, because I thought this was just they're on the ground floor. There's nowhere else to go. And then I remembered, so he slips under. There's this gap between the levels of the parking garage, and you've probably seen this in real ones. And yeah, I mean, I don't know. Did they have more? Well, they've obviously got more than one suit to show the level of damage. But are some of them rubber?
I do have some notes on this.
Yeah, because I'd love to know.
Okay, so in the commentary, let me just quickly find it again.
No, you're not allowed.
It's one of those things where I've got the name of the cinematographer, and I'm just trying to remember how it's pronounced. Yost.
Sounds like a synthwave artist.
So Paul and Yost Vakana, director of the DOP, the director of photography, came up with this idea of this multi-layered escape. And yeah, it's funny you bring that out. It's because there are some parking lots which are multi-tiered and stuff like this. As far as I'm aware, well, this wasn't located in the same building structure as the OCP building physically. This isn't a set. So this is some place in Dallas where they could shoot this type of stuff. But here's the interesting thing you say about the suit. I'm not sure if it's in this minute or next. No, it's in this minute. They actually talk about the suit. You got to remember, there wasn't much time and production on these type of things. They didn't make a stunt suit, as far as I can tell.
So how many suits were there?
Well, I think this might have been towards the end of production, and this is one of the just battle damage suits. They wrecked the ever-loving shit out of this suit. And if you notice in this scene, there's no rubber mats.
Yeah.
The stuntman had to land in this fiberglass suit.
Do they pad it
on
out?
Concrete. I think they must have padded him somehow. But yeah, this wasn't CGI. This was practical. And yeah, this poor bastard had to roll and land on fucking concrete. And they wrecked the shit out of the suit.
Yeah, I know I go on and on about CGI, but yeah, I think once CGI entered the picture as a tool in the toolbox, it changed everything forever in terms of, well, anything I see in a film could be CGI, therefore you're less impressed. Whereas this, no, they had to go for it. There is no other way. In 2001: A Space Odyssey, yes, I talk about this a lot. It's my current obsession. But the tapir, I never noticed. I was watching again recently with my brother, and there's a tapir at the beginning that falls, and it looks dead. You cannot fake that. You can't make a tapir or any animal fall over. It turns out that something spooked it on set, so it just ran off the platform and fell to its death. And they filmed it, so they used it.
Yeah. Hollywood is not good to its animal actors.
Or actors in general.
Well, yeah, but the animals tend to get it worse sometimes.
True.
It's a good thing they didn't include the dog in this damn film. But yeah, CGI has helped us do so many crazy good things visually, but it has robbed us of some of the
realism, I guess, or the...
I was going to say magic for a weird word, but yeah, realism is
stakes?
Also... No.
I think the stakes.
Yeah, stakes is a good word. Stakes is a very good word. Because doing a lot of things practically, this is one of the big problems with CGI to a certain degree, is that a lot of CGI has no weight. Like, literally, that's things you have to program in. So, bodies falling, or something like that, if you don't have a reference, which can also help, you got to try and figure that crap out, and you see sometimes it just doesn't work.
Oh god, this is a huge tangent. It's sort of relevant, but I was going through the Fast and the Furious franchise, and I had watched it kind of in reverse order. Like, I jumped in probably movie 8 onwards. I was watching it with friends, and then I went back and watched the first one. And at first I thought, God, this is not as impressive. This is not as much happening. And then I realized, well, hang on. Every stunt in that first movie is real. They are not cutting corners. They're not animating a lot of it. And then as you go along, it's like, well, it gets more ridiculous, but then also you're detached because there's no sense of weight or consequence.
We've entered a kind of weird period where it's funny because there used to be the thing where the first movie would probably be the more expensive one, but the modern Hollywood thing is like they'll throw as little money at a movie as possible, and then they'll dump the budget if it's successful enough to warrant a sequel. That's the modern practice. That's why, you look at, say, Iron Man compared to, well, a modern day a movie.
Test the waters a bit, see how the audience responds.
Exactly, but also Marvel Studios was not a big thing. It was literally their first movie. They were still, basically, Marvel was still trying to prove itself as a hit maker. So the first Iron Man suit was done practically. Yeah, there's CGI versions and all that type of stuff because they're not that stupid.
And I love it.
So when you're seeing RDJ in that outfit, that was a real thing. He wore bits and pieces and all that type of stuff. And that added to that a lot of realism. And then from the second movie onwards, all he ever wore was like a helmet and a reference suit.
Yeah, so was there only one Robocop costume made for the film, or was there more than one?
I've never been able to truly verify that. I believe there was 3.
It would have to be at least. Otherwise, if you had to do reshoots, you'd be screwed.
Yeah, I think they had the hero one, which was the clean version, and I think they made up 2 versions of the damaged ones. I could be mistaken.
And is this the first time Lewis, or anyone, refers to Robocop by his real name? I think this is the first time anyone said Murphy.
Second, Murphy, it's you.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So she started, she's the only one who's done it.
But then she goes, Murphy, it's me.
Right,
I didn't even notice that. I was like, oh!
Chiasmus.
Yes!
This is actually not one that the that writer, I can't remember the name, but yeah, they didn't point this one out. We have. We're smart. We're very clever.
Yeah, we are the cleverest Robocop podcast that deals with this minute by minute.
Yes. That's the nice
very
thing.
Specific.
If you do a movies by minute podcast on a movie, you are automatically the foremost expert on that film. Just
exactly.
No one can outcompete you.
I mean, yeah, there's those people in those forums that tend to analyze every single scene and shot and have spent the last 20, 30, 40 years of their life. But we're smarter than them because we have a podcast.
No, because we take their research and claim it as our own. So then we amass all their knowledge. We are the Borg.
So we are the most academic Robocop podcast.
Yes. We're also the sexiest and funniest and...
Oh yeah, default.
Hell yeah.
The 2 sweetest words in the English language.
It's nice being the only one, because you can be the most sus of anything if you want to claim it.
Oh... I'm dead now.
So, those are all my notes for this particular minute. It's great to look at.
I do have some commentary notes,
nice.
But I do want to quickly go to the script is pretty much the same. There's one bit of dialogue in the book, though. I just thought 2 bits of dialogue, I should say. In the novelization, in page 145, this is actually it's from last minute, but I tended to skip a lot of the book stuff. It wasn't that interesting, and also we had a great guest on, so we had to let him just go wild. Robocop's just found out he's being confronted by Hedgecock. This is the line that kind of threw me for a loop, because it just literally goes, Robo was breathing heavy, and we've never seen Robocop breathe? Does he have lungs? Well, yeah. Yeah. Oh. That's us going back to the prison. The police scenes with the baby things. Like, yeah, what is his organs?
Yeah,
such delicious organs.
I'm fond of liver myself, but only dehydrated. But yeah. So there was an article I found many years ago, and I haven't been able to find it since, but they were proposing that there was a way to directly oxygenate blood so that if someone was incapable of breathing, instead of life support, which has a lot of risks, if you've got a machine breathing for you, it can have all sorts of long-term effects, which is just spooky to me. And, or, someone suffocating, whatever it is, you can keep their organs functioning normally and oxygenated just by conditioning the blood. So there may be a way that's what's happening with Robocop. He doesn't even need lungs. It's just whatever his brain requires, the robotic part of him takes care of that.
Well, at least we know by Robocop 2 they have perfected the brain in the jar technology, so that's all they need.
Yeah.
And eyeballs, because wow.
I think they're pretty, well, we'll get there when we do Robocop 2, but I don't think they're wrong about people going absolutely nuts, being separated from their bodies.
No. This bit made me laugh, though. Shells whined all around him. The ground erupted into tiny geysers of metacum and metal. He was a dead man. He chuckled to himself. Well, a dead, not quite man. He was beginning to get the hang of dark humour. He made a mental note of that as he skittered along behind the next column.
No, that is not what Robocop is thinking as he's getting shot at.
Wow, I'm learning dark humour. I've been getting murdered, but at least I have a sense of humour.
I hate when novelizations do that, and you and I have a long history with novelizations, and boy, do they do that often.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I actually have a few commentary notes. Even though we've spent so little time talking about it, I think we really did a lot of that talking previous minutes as well, because this scene is just an extended shootout.
We do a lot of talking in general. That is just a description of our lives.
Yeah. So, God, I can't even read my own fucking handwriting. Okay, so first note is... I'm keeping that in. I screwed up the spelling of a thing, so I erased it. And I think my second spelling is just as screwed up, so I just...
Your second screwing.
So Ed points out that in this scene, if he'll take the blame for any shots on the... if you see a shot on the concrete that doesn't look quite right, it's probably there's a squib put in there, but it was done by Ed, so it never fired. But this is the one I probably really would love to talk about. Paul felt that this was the quintessential shot for the tragedy of Robocop. Ed also points out that this scene is the inhumanity and hypocrisy of man. And I think they're right on the money on this. Like, well, of course they did. They made the damn thing, but
yeah.
I think this more than... I think I brought this up, like, previous minutes. Like, this is, like, to me, like, if anything, the ultimate betrayal. It's, this codified friend to Robocop, less than this gigantic corporate dick and his gigantic corporate dick robot. This is the moment where Robocop falls. Like, literally, metaphorically. Yes, it's a bit on the nose, but at the same time, it works. It really works.
Well, it's that kind of 1-2 punch, I guess they say, where...
Yeah.
Okay, he's gone up against the enemy that we were always aware was the enemy, but the allegiance of the police up until now had remained ambiguous, because we knew they were in the pocket of OCP, big OCP, but... and you can't spell cop without OCP.
CP, yes.
Yeah. But until now, we thought, well, especially Lewis, we knew Lewis is probably ride or die homie, but we didn't know where everyone else stood, and now, well, it turns out they are not homies.
Well, we probably got a sense that the cops at the stations, the ones with the speaking roles at least, the ones that are talking about striking, stuff like that, were probably going to be allies, for lack of a better term. But Robocop, throughout this movie, in the guise of Robocop, I should say, He's always been a loner. He's always been the guy cleaning up the town by himself. That's what he was designed to do. And I do love that, we we do have this scene where it's like, codified cops taking down Robocop. There's a bit of poetic just irony there. I was going to say justice, but a bit of poetic irony. But yeah, I do love how dehumanized these people are. All we're seeing is helmets, silhouettes, and gunfire. And our hero, he didn't survive Ed 209 unscathed. He's beaten up. He's clearly come out the worst for wear. And then to him to get absolutely, utterly megged up, especially from gunfire, which we've seen in the past does nothing to him. But then in this, already weakened armor, he's gotten worse. And damn, that even when I was first a kid, this was truly like horrific.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Josh said the same thing. You established this character as invincible, and you've taken that away. And it's funny that it's such a simple device, but it works every time.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. If only this was something to really could have fucking...
Should we get to that now? Or
yeah, I've run out of notes, and that's a good segue.
It's time for gaslighting Robocop.
Alex, how do you feel?
I feel fine, Dr. Norton.
Minute 79 begins with random thug Jerry White saying, I work for Antoine Valley, and ends with him saying, I swear, man, I don't know where Valley is. And Jerry, whose name doesn't suit him, he is driving a 1996 Chevy Impala, a far cry from the Impalas of yesteryear, which were awesome. This just looks like a piece of shit. Unlike...
Soccer mom vehicle, isn't it?
Yeah, my car is from 1996. Way cooler. Just putting it out there.
Your car is way cooler.
She is. It appears to have these weird custom hubcaps. So that's basically what I want to talk about. And I became fascinated by these hubcaps. They look like a home job. They look very rough. And now I'm wondering, whoever's in charge of the vehicles for this film, did they go to the effort to make this character appropriate? This is a very minor character. You see his car for 5 seconds. Or did they find this at a salvage? They just went, yep, that one's interesting. And they used that as it came.
No, the funny thing is you brought up a really good term there, salvage. And yeah, I remember hearing this, I'm not 100% sure how accurate it is, or at least how accurate it is in America to but typically stunt cars are usually salvage cars.
Because, well, I know this now quite well, that there are so many cars that get written off that are actually pretty okay. For stunt purposes, you just need to do a few fixes here and there. It's good enough. Yeah. Whereas a lot of drivers they don't care about their car. It's just a machine. They don't want to spend the money, so they just take the insurance money and go.
So, let's say, for example, as a stunt, you've got, say, narrow passageway, cars on each side, and someone's driving through. And let's just say, it's a big car, the car's going to get wrecked. What they usually will have is they'll have junk cars where one side of the car is perfectly fine, and the other side of the car is absolutely fucking wrecked. Yeah. And, to the point where it's not drivable because, the chassis might be bent or something like that. It is technically a write-off. It's an undrivable car. It's not. It's completely dangerous to drive, and that's where they'll put them in these places where they can get absolutely completely wrecked because they're cheap as shit. So sometimes it's whatever car they can get that serves a purpose because they're going to wreck it anyway.
Yeah, now I'm thinking. I don't know why my brain went here, but to Herbie. If he went to a scrapyard and he's looking around, at what point are those cars around him considered dead in his eyes? He's like, oh, you just... oh, God, there's zombies! Oh, there's corpses! Oh, God!
Oh, my God. Have they not done that in, a Herbie type of thing where Herbie gets taken to the trash yard, and it's like that Evil Dead kind of thing where it's just... quick zooming into all these cars and it's fucking back to Herbie. His eyes
shaking.
Just yeah.
Well, because in the Lindsay Lohan movie, why the fuck are we talking about this? But in the Lindsay Lohan movie,
you brought this up
because it's me, Simon, of course. But yeah, in the Lindsay Lohan movie, he's found at a junkyard and thinking, that's a living hell for poor Herbie.
Well, they kind of did that with Bumblebee as well, for the live action, where it's just like...
Well, that's
Bumblebee is essentially dead.
Bumblebee isn't in a car. He's a robot man from outer space. Totally different.
Okay, sure.
No one's ever referred to him as that, but...
No. My point was that he is, for all intents and purposes, dead.
Yes.
When What's-Her-Face finds him and brings him back to life, he is essentially a corpse.
Yes. You just drag his corpse around, drive it. Oh my god, yeah, Optimus comes to Earth. Bumblebee, what have you done to him? Oh god.
Pimp my Bumblebee.
You put a flower air freshener in his corpse. What's wrong with you?
She does like a parts replacement, getting stuff out of the, stuff that's like not OEM, but that just slowly diminishes like the life spark of Bumblebee.
Oh yeah.
Until he's just like,
this is all getting cut.
Why do I feel pain?
But yes, getting back on track. We'll probably cut all of that out as no relevance to fucking anything. What is wrong with me? Anyway.
Well, let's just ruin the mood right now, because my only note is Roboflag finally being a cop by assaulting a black guy.
Yes, he is fulfilling his true identity. Now there is so Murphy is now human again and seeking revenge. But what makes Robocop's original quest for his killers fascinating is that he was almost solving his own murders as if it was someone else, and I think that was such a brilliant way for him to slowly regain his identity. The structure and the narrative arc are perfect and logical, and it's a lot of showing, not telling.
Well, it's almost like he wasn't really solving his own murder. It's that thing where something sparked, but he was still fulfilling his purpose as a police officer. It wasn't framed as like this revenge thing. He was just, we know this guy's the bad guy and we know he killed cops, but Robocop still doesn't have a personality at that point, and I think that was really cool compared to this. I'm
getting to the stage now where I'm realizing the only thing worth discussing the remake for is just to point out how the original movie succeeded in a lot of ways, in a lot of subtle ways that you wouldn't even think of. And I mean, that's why Movies by Minute is so rewarding. That Robocop was always a perfect movie to me, but now I realize, wow, no, they're doing things so efficiently and just so nailing it.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I really don't want to keep. Part of me really wants to just quit talking about Roboflag, because I think I've run out of shit to say. Cause
I know you're out, but I'm still going. So anyway, the other thing I wanted to talk about was that there.
I'm not talking about this particular minute.
Okay,
yeah, go on.
But yeah, this the potential joke here that they miss, like they sort of the dialogue's there, the information's there, but the delivery, I don't know if they were going for a joke, but so the guy's like, oh, he's gonna kill my wife and kid, and then Robocop just looks it up and says, you don't have a kid and you're divorced, and I went, okay, yeah, like that's a hand.
That was funny, but
that was it
didn't work.
Like, oh, that's a handy ability, and you really could have played that up as a joke. I don't know how, but it's there. You had everything. You had the dialogue. You had the setup.
Yeah.
But yeah, the punchline, the payoff, just.
Well, it is also Kinnaman's performance as well.
Maybe all you have to do is just cut back to Jerry with just a beat of, fuck, you know.
Yeah, like, if anything, I think if he maybe had done it more dry, like, but it's just kind of thing like, he feels like a petulant child.
Yeah, I don't like, well, I mean, I don't know if this is, what's Wonder Bro's name? Bloody Joel Kinnaman. Yeah.
The fact that I literally said it like less than 55 minutes ago, and we still could remember.
No, because he's fucking Wonder Bread, so it's really hard. Anyway, I don't know if it's his choice in the performance or it's the director, although he kind of has that petulant asshole thing as Takeshi in Altered Carbon. So
yeah,
it might just be his one beat that he knows how to play.
It's his version of the Clooney head tilt. Head nod, sorry.
Yes. Well, that is all my notes for now. I actually do have some notes for the next one, but we shall leave that.
So where can the lovely viewers find you?
You can find me at traviandesigns.com or patreon.com/traviandesigns, and Courtney Colson on YouTube, and The Greatest Regen on Instagram, where I go through the 1980s in chronological order.
And you can find me on Fandom Crossing in Helios photos on pretty much on the Facebook at the moment. I should get an Instagram, but yeah, eventually. But more importantly, you can find us on Spotify, Simplecast, Apple, Google's, all the regular podcasting pod programs with pod people, YouTube as well. Like, share, comment, subscribe, all that bullshit, algorithmic shit. And until next time,
Robocock.